from Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, BHU.
Yeah.
And yeah, I chose this specialization of operation and supply chain management because uh, actually in my house, my maternal uncle, he did MBA from Delhi, and he guided me that you can go for operation management because you can relate yourself with whatever the topics are taught, and it is easier for you to learn about it. So yeah, and also there are very much opportunity for girls in operation management. I got to know. Sir also told me about this. So yeah, that's why.
Very good, Meghna. Anyway, see, operations is required in anything you do in life, right? Earlier,
Yeah.
these operations, we used to call it as a production management, in the earlier days. But then we found that whatever principles are there are applied to any operations, as long as it is whether it is producing a product which is which you can see, touch, feel, or it could be even a financial product, as we say, or a banking product, or an insurance product, or anything. And to realize an output, you need an operations. So that is why it is now being termed as an operations management. Right. And supply chain, again, because you need resources to produce the goods, and end to end you need to manage the chain. That is why it is, in simple words, it is supply chain. Okay. Anyway, good to see you, at least there. Yeah. Now I think the next person.
Swapan, open your camera.
Yeah, he may be in a meeting, so he may not be able to speak. He may be listening just. He's already mentioned that he's in a meeting. COVID meeting is going on in a Narayana Hospital, Ranchi. So
Okay.
maybe he's just listening us. Yeah.
Okay. But then you said totally 4, no?
Yeah, total 4 is there. One more person is about to join, and 2, Sapan and Shiv Kumar, Shashi is in the same hospital. So that's why these 2 people will be maybe joining in between. But you can start, sir. I will request you to start. And Ansaj is about to join.
Okay. Right. I just give me a small thing. I need to connect the power to make sure that it doesn't go. Just give me 1 second. Yes. Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir.
Meghna,
Yes,
keep your camera on. It will be easy for you to interact. I don't find it's valuable, that everybody is hiding behind the camera unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Please interact and keep till the whole session. Please keep your camera open, guys. Right? because sir is very interactive. He always love to interact. Yeah. Okay, sir.
Yeah, so
Sapan and Sasi is listening you because they are in a meeting.
yeah,
So maybe in
yeah,
between
yeah.
they will join as the time will. And Meghna, please don't switch off your camera, right?
Okay.
Because sir likes to interact very
Welcome,
much. So please talk, please ask 1,000 questions. He will be happy to transfer all his 30-40 year of experience immediately. Right?
Okay. Sir. Yeah. Yes.
okay. Anyway, welcome, Swapnil and the other person. What's his name? Yeah.
Sopan and Sasi is in a meeting. So they are listening
Dashi.
your
Okay.
lecture. But anyway, once
Correct.
they will free from the meeting, they may join.
Very good. So anyway, welcome to all of you. I think one more person may be joining. Well, I will take on from where Meghna started saying that, the why operations, right? I have a couple of things to share with you before I go into today's topic on productivity. Why operations, right? See, basically in life, whatever we do, we are converting something from something to something else. Like when we are producing some, even, okay, Meghna, to give you an example, I'm sure you work in the kitchen now. Okay, if you want to make a vegetable dish, right? So you have inputs like the vegetables, then which has to be prepared, right? And then you have an equipment which is the could be a stove, could be whatever, gas burner or a microwave or some equipment. Then you need the vessels to go along with it and all the materials which goes into it. And the so there is a process which goes on as per what you normally is usually done in a precise way. Otherwise, it is either undercooked or overcooked, and then so you have an end result, a combination of all this. Same thing whether it goes to, let us say, even if you have to produce some articles, like I could say, I'm sitting in front of a chair. The chair is a wooden chair, so obviously it starts from a log of wood, which is made into, shaped into something, and then there is some cane put into it, all that, okay? And then finally it becomes a chair to sit on. So operations is all that processes which happen between an input and an output, right? So operations again needs, like you must have seen in your earlier papers in management, you need manpower or women power, let's say, man, machine, materials, money, right? So similarly, in operations also, you need all these resources to convert an input by a defined process to an output. So the why is operations important? If I ask you a question, what would you say? Okay. Why is operations important, Meghna? Because you're the only student, so I'll have to ask you now. The others are only listening, right?
So to produce any output, we need operations.
Correct. Why is it important in management? Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Why is it important in management? Of course, all the topics are important. In management, you do marketing is important. Human resources is important. Finance is important, right? Operations is also important. But why is operations important? What does it do?
So according to me, operation and management, it is important to manage all the fields, like whether if it's finance or it is marketing or it is HR. So for managing everything, operation management is important. The basic level is operation management.
Usually marketing happens only once the product is realized, the output end product is there, right? Whereas in operations, it is the process which actually makes the product
Yes.
physical or tangible or intangible product. Okay. So why is it important? I'll give you in a very simple way. Like, let us say, ultimately, what is the purpose of any operations or any business for that matter? What is the purpose of a business?
So to like earn for earning, and if you'll produce something, so obviously you'll earn from it in business.
Earning what? Earning profit.
Yeah, profit. Yeah, profit also, sometimes losses also.
No. Losses means then you're not in business. Of course, you may have some, okay, somebody is there.
Yes.
Anshit joined. I just say admit, I admitted. I hope. Anshit, you joined?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Anshit Jain is physically. Let us see you. Put on your camera.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Sorry, I was
Sure.
having some trouble with the network.
So happens. Don't worry. We were discussing about why operations management. Why is it important? What is your background, Anshit?
Sir, I just completed my BTech in automobile engineering from Manipur Institute of Technology.
Manipal.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Manipal, MIT, Manipal.
Yes, sir.
Oh, great, good. So you have been to south of India and then now back in. Where are you now?
Sir, I'm back in Varanasi.
Back in Varanasi. Good. So, so we were discussing why is operations management important in among the various areas in management. Of course, you have marketing, you have finance, you have systems, you have HR, right? Operations is also one of the fields in management. Why is it important? So what would you say? What comes to your mind? Just you don't see, there is nothing like right or wrong, right? We'll do everything right later. Okay. I'm also not looking at any notes or something like that, so yeah, just feel free. Yeah. Say, why is it important?
Sir,
What comes to your mind?
Sir, to improve productivity and efficiency.
Okay, improve productivity and efficiency is one of the factors. Okay. First of all, see, there are two things always in management. See, this we must remember. One is to be effective and one is to be efficient. The entire management is about being effective and being efficient. Effective is to do the right thing, and efficient is to do it right. So all that we do in either planning, right, coordinating, staffing, control, all that finally comes into the gamut of first choosing what to do and then how to do it. Correct. So in operations, basically operations is all about converting some input through a process to an output. Right. So in the what is in between is a process. So if you have a very well clearly defined process for converting the input to an output, then you need the right machinery for the scale of operations which you are doing. Now comes the scale. Now let us say if you are producing only 10 units, you may not need a huge machinery. But then let us say you are producing 100,000 pieces in a day, then you need certain types of machinery. So it is the type of choice of the equipment will depend upon the scale of what is produced. So you have to make the right decision for it. So again, we are coming, what will be more effective, right? What technology you will use, right? What materials you will use, what controls you will use, do for during the process of conversion for the output to happen. Okay, so all these together forms the operations management. Now, why is it important? I consider that it is one of the most important things, not because I'm teaching operations management, because I have run a factory for about 40 plus years. Okay, so if you ask me operations, I'll say it is the most important. Any idea what could be, what comes to your mind? Either you or Meghna, yeah, you can, both of you, anybody can say.
So I think it's the basic tool of management.
No,
The,
everything is the basic. See, that even marketing, you may produce all the product, but then if you are not able to sell
yeah,
anything, then it is not useful.
yes, sir.
If in finance, of course, if you don't get money, right, then you cannot manage the business. Everything is important. But I am telling that operations is the most important among these.
Sir, every facet of management is somehow linked with operations management.
Yeah.
So decrease in
Okay.
that effective.
Okay, I'll uncharge, no? Uncharge. Yeah. Now I'll give you one thing. Let us say I'm going to say that you make money or you make a profit only from operations and not from marketing.
Sir,
I'm
that is not.
how
Yes, sir.
you see, you tell me whether I am right or wrong, and if I am right, why I am right. If I am not right, why I am not right.
Sir, that is not matlab, possible because marketing is also needed in order
No,
for
no, it's not, everything is needed. I'm not saying. I made a statement saying that you make profit or a surplus. In fact, in management, we use the word surplus.
yes, sir.
Okay, because in if it is a not-for-profit organization, it is a surplus. It's a government, it is a surplus. Government doesn't make profit. But then there are operations in government services too. And so for an NGO or a school or a hospital or for any of them, there are services which are provided in the which are called operations. And then at the end, whatever service you render, and in the process, you create a surplus or a profit. So I am telling that, according to me, the operations is the only thing which makes profit. Is the most important for making a profit. Let me, even if you are slightly modified, how would you react to it? Answer, yeah, or Meghna.
So I can't justify it. I don't know.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'll come from a different angle. Okay. When you have a product, okay, tell me any product, Anshad, automobile you said, no? Hello, Anshad?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You were in automobiles, you said, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Automobiles.
Automobile. Okay, today let us take, which is your favorite vehicle? What vehicle you like to drive?
Sir, Swift. Basically, I'm allowed to drive only on a Swift.
Okay, your Maruti Swift. Okay, that's what you have. What is the price of the Maruti Swift? Approximately, don't just
Sir, around 6 to 7 lakhs.
6 to different variation. So, okay, the variation which you choose, let us say is 6.5 lakhs. Can you get it for 5 lakhs from the showroom? I'm talking from the showroom, from a Maruti showroom. Can you get it for
Sir,
5 lakh?
Newly bought.
Huh?
Matlab, it's new or
New. I'm talking about a new. No,
Sir,
it is fixed. Correct. He is not going to sell you just because he knows your, even if he is your uncle or whatever it is, he will not sell you for less. Correct.
yes,
He
sir.
may give it in different form, but the price remains the same. Now, can he charge, let us say, 10 lakhs just because it is in short supply? He cannot. Okay. So now coming to your own example, the Maruti Swift, your variant which costs 6.5 lakhs, at the most, the dealer may forego a little bit of commission, his margin, and give you. Okay, because he is your uncle. But otherwise, it is 6.5. So you have no control on the price of the product which you are selling. You have you can increase the sale of the product through what? Through marketing.
Yes, sir.
If I am selling 10 units of Maruti Swift this every month, by a good sales promotion or marketing or advertising or various schemes you put and all that, you may be able to increase it to 15. Numbers can increase. Okay. Now, that is fixed. Now, let us come to the supply side of the whole thing. Supply side is what? You have starting from steel. Correct. Steel is a major input. Then you have the various sub-assemblies, the tires, all that which are, most of them are outsourced. Right. Right. Now, is the price of steel, you can buy it at any price? It's a market price. It's a competitive item available only from two sources. Correct. So there is a input material cost is more or less fixed. Your end price, the price of the end product is fixed. Correct. Now, what is it that you can do, right, to increase the profit? By reducing all the wastages which happen in production or operations. So that what you save in the cost, that is what ultimately gives you the extra profit. If you are inefficient, the profit will be eaten away by all the wastages. You understood? Will be eaten away by all the wastages. And that is exactly what is happening in many places. The wastages can be in raw materials, it can be in the power which is used, it can be the utilities which a person is used. There are hundreds of places where there are wastages which are happening. So if you control all those wastages, then then it happens that you are able to produce with the least resources. So when we talk about resources is all those inputs in the form of either a raw material or a capital goods or a consumables or utilities which go into the operations, and of course money again. Money is also a resource. Depends upon where you get your money from. If you borrow money at a very high interest rate, then there is a wastage there, because that is also eating into the cost. So optimum utilization of all the resources and using the least amount of resources to realize that particular product is ultimately the only thing which gives you the profit, not marketing, not the supply side, because both are more or less fixed with very little variation possible, right? So I would say, now coming back to it, Meghna and Anshaj, I stand by my statement that it is the operations which is able to realize the maximum profit compared to the other functions. What do you say now? No, what is your reaction? What Meghna? What do you see? I'm sure, yes, I gave you automobile because you're an automobile engineer. I gave you automobile, right?
Yes, sir. Now I think it's possible, because if you improve any other aspect, such as even if you improve your marketing, after sales service, or it would also give some profits.
Yeah, definitely.
And
No, I'm saying, but maximum is maximum possible. Okay, let me also rephrase it. The maximum thing under your own control. Okay.
yes, sir.
Suppose you are the CEO of the company. The maximum control from which you can maximize profit within your control is operations.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
One of the things what Japanese realized long back, right? That is why all these Japanese systems which came into the world, rather, they realized that operations is the area where you can realize maximum profit. Okay, so of course, marketing can. I'm not saying that the others won't, but they are not under your control, right? But again, it depends upon the external forces which can create situations under which you can realize a better price or more sales of the product, better brand image. The accountant may be able to get cheaper finance for your company. But ultimately, the major chunk of the whole thing, because if you take any company, like in an automobile, more than if you say take the gross profit of, let us say, 20% in an automobile, 80% is in operations. Your marketing costs, your finance costs, all these two mainly are in the remaining 20% of the cost of the product. Human resources, yes, and all other materials and processes forms the chunk of the cost which is thing. And that is when the control is needed, right? The better you control there, better. Even if you take, of course, if you look at the balance sheet of, okay, just for out of curiosity, you take out Tata Motors, Mahindra, Maruti, that is, let us say, the Indian companies, okay, and see what are their ratios, in terms of total revenue to manpower utilization, power utilization, all the various things which comes into, right, for a per unit output of the product. You'll find that the person who makes maximum profit will have used the resources more optimally. Correct? Okay, so that was a general introduction into operations. I thought I'll do that before I go into it. There are various aspects to operating things, starting from capital, choice of technology, to choice of equipment, to if it is physical manufacturing, then the place of manufacturing, location, many other things come into the picture, right? So today's topic, which I was given to take is on productivity. Correct. Now, I'll give you one more question to ponder before we get into the subject of productivity. I will say that productivity and quality are linked. Productivity and quality are linked. Or if I have to put it that way, if you improve quality, productivity will automatically improve. Now, I want your reaction to this.
Yes, sir, totally agree.
Well, no. It's very easy to say I agree, but you you have to justify. Give an example, justify. What example do you want to give, Meghna?
Sir, it's very obvious that if you'll
So what example you want to give? Like I've given already. Anshaj took an automobile, Maruti Swift. Now I use Maruti Swift example. In fact, our other two hospital friends, if it is there, I would have taken an hospital example. But you can say what example you want to take.
okay, sir, just give me 2 minutes, I'll think and I'll just
Huh? Yeah. What is your family business?
So my family is not into business. My uncle is in business. He's in government, like roadways, and
Road
my transport.
transport. Okay, transport is an operation, obviously, correct. Transport is an operation. Now, where is the productivity in transport operation coming from?
So if you'll provide good services, but they are in government transport, so I don't know much about there, but I can just give another example.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so if
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm hearing you. Okay, Anshad, I think her video is frozen. Anshad. Meghna Gupta entered the waiting room. Okay, you went out. Hello. Hello. Anshad Singh left. Oh, what's happening? Yeah, Meghna. Yes, you're coming. Yes.
yes, if you say like if I'm talking about shoes, okay, let's take an example of
Shoes.
shoes.
Yes,
So
yes, sure. Yeah.
yeah, if there is a brand like if you will go for Adidas, Nike, or some famous brand, so they provide premium
Yeah.
quality.
Hmm.
Yeah, and on the other hand, if you'll go for some local shoes, they may not reach up to that level of quality, and if and customers also want quality on budget is up to them. So if you provide good quality on any
No, let us,
product, be it
let us for the sake of comparison, you should also always use the similar thing. Let us say the same shoe, same type of shoe with all the features the same. is produced by, let us say, Adidas, you say, okay, and it is produced by some local brand.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Now, they use the same materials, they use the same process, everything. What difference is in the manufacturing setup, the manufacturing process they adopt to finish the product. So the design is the same, the materials are the same, the process differs.
Yes, so the process differs, and you may also say that they use a better quality product.
No, I'm saying that for the same thing, it is same, looks exactly the same, the materials are the same.
Okay, okay, so material.
What makes the difference? Still the quality of, let us say, the Adidas is better than the local brand.
Yeah. So if quality will be better, then obviously customer will be attracted to the quality product rather than the local product, and the production may.
Anyway, since of course we do not have too much of time, I will, what I will say is that it is the process which makes all the difference. Of every stage, you see, if you have to break down a shoe, like you said, a shoe, into different processes. First, you make what? Let us say you're making the sole of the shoe. And the sole itself, if you if you take a modern shoe, if you are running shoes, it contains many parts, not only the main shoe, main thing. It has a heel, it has, there are various inserts onto on the sole, right? Then there is a upper consists of the front portion. There is a thing which is stitched there. Again, there is a back portion, there is an insole. Then there are, if it is a laced shoe, then it has got some eyelets, the holes to be made for the eyelets inserted. You know, you can just define the entire process for making the shoe. The difference between a quality product and let us say even a local product is that where the product from a quality manufacturing setup has a clearly defined processes, irrespective of who is the person who is working there. And they do process control of every single stage of the product till it is finally assembled. Practically, there is no rework of the product when it is finally produced. In local manufacturers, there's what happened, maybe the same person does everything. Sometimes he may not be consistent, he may not be having the correct equipment, jigs, fixtures, whatever, all that. So there is a lot of variation in the processes which happens, resulting in rework. After he finishes and inspects, he says that that eyelet is not sitting properly. This sole is not fully, the gum teek nahi lagaya, all that kind of thing. So a lot of things which happen, which does not happen in a regular, clearly defined setup, right? So because although if I say the same raw material at the same price is given to both, the person who is going to be more efficient and better quality and therefore better productivity is a person with clearly defined processes and control. So obviously, quality and productivity are linked in this manner. Same thing goes for automobiles, you see. And when you talk about automobiles again, today if you see it, there are many processes in automobiles, and even every single process, there are many parameters in the process which need to be controlled. And so each one of them is maintained optimally tested and ensure that it is controlled, then you get a good quality and there is no rework. Every rework which happens or every wastage which happens decreases the throughput. So there is a lesser productivity. So I would say that because of this, I can very clearly say that productivity and quality are linked together. And when you want to increase productivity, you have no option but to improve the quality of all the processes. Okay, so we have defined that the productivity we'll define it as an output of any production process per unit of output. Of course, then to increase productivity means to produce more with less. When you say less here, it means less resources. Resources can be materials, it can be, all the resources put together. If you use less for producing more, then your productivity increases. And productivity, again, I'll keep saying that it is not at the cost of quality. Productivity can only be measured if the quality is also equally good or high. So in factories and corporation, productivity is a measure of the ability to create goods and services from a given amount of labor, capital, materials, land, resources, knowledge, time, and a combination of all this, which again, all this put together, we call as resources or factors of production. Of course, you must have also heard that we use the term factors of production or factors of realizing a product. Okay. So output per unit of input employed is production. As we said earlier, the lesser the input you use for a given output, your productivity increases. And again, the input can be labor productivity if you're in terms of labor. It could be resources productivity if you're using least amount of energy. Because energy is a big issue nowadays, even worldwide. What type of energy you use, how much you use, all that. Materials, of course, again, there is a least wastage. Like in the example of what Meghna was saying, that if you're making a shoe, you take, let's say if it is a leather shoe, let us say, you have a huge piece of leather which is there from which you cut the various parts. Do you cut it any way you want to cut? In fact, the master cutter or whoever it is, he makes sure that he plans it in such a way that whatever is cut, the least amount of wastage is there at the end. So that way the material usage is maximum and the productivity is maximum. Increase productivity on the part of capital and labor. As we say today, at least in India, the cost of capital is very high. Whether it is long-term capital or whether it is working capital. In fact, interest rates in India are one of the highest among many advanced countries. Although, and it's also not easy to get capital. So the usage of the equipment and the money is extremely important to ensure good productivity. Okay. Yeah, measurement of productivity. Now, I hope you were given these slides with you.
Yes, sir.
You have the slides, no?
I think so, sir. I'll have to search. It's probably on the group, sir.
I don't know. Hello?
Sir, she's having some issues with the network.
Yeah, it's coming and going. What I would say, Meghna, you just cut out your video. You just be on audio. At least that way you will get the bandwidth. Less bandwidth will be used. Okay. Yeah, I think see, basically, I'm using the slides which Dr. Rekha Prasad has done, and I think this will be given to you, so you don't have to worry about. Of course, you can try,
Yes, sir.
but so far I've been talking generally. Now I'm taking based on the slides, and in the slides, whenever I'm talking, you please ask for any clarification or a doubt, whatever, because only then it makes it interactive. Okay. So productivity can be measured, the amount of output per unit of input. See, basically, ultimately, everything is can be crunched to numbers. You see, you can improve. There is a famous saying that you can improve only what you can quantify in some form. Correct. If I am able to get, why do you think we have marks for you in the examination? It is very simple, correct? You have scored 90% or 91% or 92% is a measure of your ability to, I won't say the knowledge, but at least the ability to reproduce what has been taught. Okay. And for the questions asked, if that is the measure, it may not be the measure of your intelligence, but at least that is what it is. So similarly, every factor and anything which, the golden rule that is that anything which can be measured must be measured. Once that is done, we say that once the measurement is done, then we need to analyze the measurement. And once we analyze the measurement, then obviously we need to identify the areas for improvement from those analysis. This is something which is given, and this is again the basis of quality again. In quality, as we go by, we'll see that anything which can be measured must be measured. Anything which is measured must be analyzed. And anything which is analyzed must be used to improve the processes. So productivity can be measured by putting all the output by the input resources in either you normalize in the form of rupees or in the form of hours, in the form of energy, whatever, all that. So in a factory, it might be measured based on the number of hours it takes to produce a good. That is one of the measurements. Need not be again thing. Whether the you need number of hours, definitely in some services you need that. See, basically, if you, I don't know, if you guys know how to, if you order for a pizza, the Pizza Hut says we deliver you within half an hour or it's free. Now, why do they say that? They know that, yes, the moment and from the time an order is received to the delivery of the goods, all the processes are ensure that the total time taken is within that period. So if you go to a bank, it is time is important. You can't wait indefinitely. You go to a restaurant, you can't wait indefinitely. You go to a hospital, again, it is the same. Time is a crucial resource for all operations. In fact, time is the essence of everything. So, measurement on the basis of time is one of the things, but then there are various in terms of materials, in terms of energy, in terms of manpower. Yeah, it can be seen, the productivity can be measured. While in the service industry, might be measured based on the income generated by an employee divided by his or her salary. This is a very good thing, especially in software. If you see, in fact, in software, most billings take place on the basis of so much per person, $10 per person or something, per man hour. So so if I'm going to bill a client on the basis of, let's say, $10 per hour, I must ensure that my manpower delivers well within that $10, so that the less the time they take to deliver the service, the more profit I make, the more productive the person is. So time is an essence in such places. You can't say the same thing in the hospital industry, because it is not a standardized product. As two of our friends from the hospital are listening, I'm just telling, there it is not advisable, I would even say, to measure the productivity on the basis of time, because each case is different. Even if you have two COVID patients coming, the difference can be in the gender, it can be in the age, it can be in the comorbidity, it can be in whether they have taken their dosages or not. Many factors come into the picture, and just you cannot equate on the basis of hours again, hours or days or whatever it is. So we need to figure out different parameters for in measuring productivity under different situations and different industries. Now we come to the definitions and the equation. How do you measure? Well, we said that very simply, productivity is nothing but output upon input. Output is a form of the product quantity, and input is in the form of resources. Resources in the form of all the land or the rent paid for the facility, salaries paid to the employees, amounts which are paid for purchasing the raw materials, and different infrastructures which are needed for the operations. Okay, it could be even transport, like Meghna was saying, one of their uncle is doing the transport for the government. Okay, here is an example where it says that in case A, 10 products are made by spending 100,000 rupees, and in case B, 15 products are made by 2,000 rupees. Which is more productive? Where are we? Simple, yeah, come on. Engineer.
Sir, according to your formula, if it is output by input, so 1,000, the first case 1,000 is the output, and 10 is the input.
Right.
तो 10 उससे हो जाएगा सर, और सेकंड केस में 1000 आउटपुट है और इनपुट 15 है, तो दैट वुड बी less than 10. So the first case would be more productive than the second case.
Yeah. So 10 by 1,000 is in the first case, and 15 by 2,000 is in the second case. What in this example it says, 10 products were made, the output, by spending 1,000 rupees in the first case. So numbers per rupee. So obviously the first one is more, because the more, suppose in the B case it was 20 for 2,000 rupees, then it is the same, correct? Or in the second case, if it was 25 by for 2000, then it is B is more than A. So in this example, obviously, B has a lesser productivity because they used more rupees for producing proportionately less quantity. Okay. Anyway, so that's and we come to the types of productivity. Of course, say partial and total productivity. Of course, these are definitions. What I would always say that, whenever such definitions come, you take your own examples which you have provided and try to visualize what this on those, that will always be a better way to than to just try to, let's say, mug up or something like that, So you take that example, so it will always make sense then. The resources of productivity when measured separately are called partial productivity. Yes, Meghna has entered the admit. I think Meghna is losing the connection on and off. That's the, okay. So we say, yeah, the resources of productivity when measured separately are called partial productivity. Here she says apples to apple comparison. Like, let us say the previous one was units for rupees. I don't think we will call that as a partial productivity. So here the equation given is partial productivity equal to output in a given period divided by the labor hours used in period. Yeah, then in the previous case we used rupees, like here you're using labor hours, the number of hours to produce that. Okay, there is a table here. I will not get into the table because you can take it when you get the PPT with you. See, I am Ansha, basically, one of the reasons that I am working away from home today. My normal place of work is in Mysore, so I don't have my access to my desktop and other facilities. So I'm making do with the iPad which I have. So otherwise, I would have been able to show you the slide itself, which I'm not able to. Maybe from the next session onwards, when I'm there in my facility, I'll be able to do that. So you have to excuse me for that. So then comes the total productivity. The method of calculating productivity considering all the resources is called total productivity. Of course, here you need to normalize all the resources when you say, obviously, and then you cannot add apples and oranges as you were telling earlier, apple to apple. But you need to have an approach to normalize the whole thing. And then apparently one David J. Sumanth has innovated this total productivity example. And it is a systematic and qualitative approach to compute it must be in quality, price, and time. There's a typo there. It should be compute.
So,
Incidentally, yeah.
sir,
Yes.
Partial productivity considers only some part of the input, not the complete part.
It uses only one of the resources.
Okay.
Whereas productivity takes into account all the resources which go into the realizing of the product. Okay, or realizing, conversion, process. You can call it by any name depending upon what the product or service is about. Usually in our, whenever we talk about product means products and services. It can be purely product, it can be a purely service, it can be a combination of a product and service. Okay. So a systematic and qualitative approach to compute in quality, price, and time. That's what he says. Basically, of course, there is India has been quite high on productivity quite some early days. There used to be I don't remember the full name of the thing, a institute based in Baroda, which is now called Vadodara. There, they used to have this productivity institute or something like that, and a lot of work has been done there. I personally don't know where this David Sumant is from, but then, so they have, it is very difficult unless you are able to put everything in figures and a standardized way of computing, it's not easy. So this person seems to have done that to compute total productivity. Right? Otherwise, what happens is people do that partial productivity for different, taking different yardsticks. One could be labor hours, as I told you. One could be the materials used. It can be the number of hours total, which is the cycle time, or called, from starting to end. It can be many measures. Manpower used for that. So total productivity provides a systematic framework and structure to an organization and increase profitability. So when you start from the premise of productivity, then obviously, when do you say you improved productivity? Only when all the inputs, not just partially any one, but all the inputs together contribute to improving the productivity. And the computation, as I said, so the David Sumant, whoever has done that, obviously has done such a way to include all the parameters of production to compute total productivity. So, which is actually nothing but the total input divided by, total output divided by total input. Productivity and production. The production is indicated by the output quantity. Well, this is something which is very simple. Even if you are taking in the case of automobiles, you are taking in the case of shoes, whatever it is, the output is in terms of quantity. Of course, like in case of automobile, which you are talking about Swift, Maruti doesn't produce only Swift. Maruti produces right from that basic model, what is that, 800? What is it called now? Alto or something like that, right? Correct, no? What is that? Basic model?
So 800, the commonly used term is 800, but generally the production of this is stopped.
Okay, whatever is the basic model. To the highest model is which one? Baleno, right? Baleno, or I don't know.
Probably.
Okay, let us say the Baleno. Baleno is the highest model. Now, when you need to create, let us say, compute productivity. So obviously you cannot average all of them and then give, let's say this is the productivity. So you need to work out what is the productivity for each one of those models, because the time taken to produce, the materials taken to produce, the manpower taken to produce, the energy taken to produce for, let us say, the 800 version will be totally different for compared to Baleno. But you can do some bit of a weightage for each one of them, or a factor of into X factor for each one of them to normalize the outputs. Yeah, we do that very often in our own production, saying that, what is a unit cost or a unit price or a unit manpower or a unit energy consumed for any of this. So numbers are not numbers by themselves, but then they can be normalized numbers. So the production, but in any case, there is an output quantity. Like let us say, for a very simple example, like let us say if I say the one Baleno is equal to, let us say, 2.2 800s, could be a factor which you can make out, so that you can say you normalize everything into production in terms of 800s. So that gives an easy way to compute productivity. Okay, productivity benefits. So obviously you have profitability, which we came up, right in the beginning, even before I look at the site. I said, when we talk about business, we talk about surplus, we talk about profitability. If you don't have profitability, then you're not in business, right? Whether you're running a hospital, whether you're running an automobile or manufacturing, or you're in, except that in a hospital, you may, the objective may not be able to maximize the profit, but at least then there should be reasonable profit. Otherwise, you cannot run the hospital, right? Or I know hospitals where they make a profit from the patients who can afford to pay, and they run a free clinic somewhere else. So there is nothing wrong in making a profit in any operations, as long as that is how it is put to use is what is most important, right? But the purpose of a business, purpose of a venture, purpose of an organization is to create a surplus or make a profit. This is something which we should, is non-negotiable, rather you can say, however much you can argue, right? Because only then you'll talk about quality, then you'll talk about productivity, then you'll talk about optimum use of resources, right? So increase benefits of productivity are increase in the income, of course, not only in rupees, but in terms of profitability. Lowering running costs and operational costs. Obviously, when you're more productive, there is less wastage, less use of resources, and so your costs come down. Maximizing the use of all the company's resources, such as land, equipment, machinery, premises, and workers, etc. Just to give you an example, we were one of the companies where in software. Before COVID, we had almost 3 floors of a facility. Now, after COVID, most of the people are working from home. Why do I have to pay, let's say, a lakh of rupees rent per floor, kind of thing? So we decided that we will cut down, we'll surrender the premises and keep only 1 floor where we have all the operations. Because even after COVID, now things like working from home has become very common in the software industry. We can have people coming in by rotation and things like that. So we reduce of course, the other costs increase. They're setting up the equipment in the premises of the employee, giving them the private area networks, and all that is a little thing. But it is offset by the rent you pay for the thing, for the premises. So you need to constantly keep looking at how to cut down costs, but improving efficiency and improving productivity. That's the constant job of an operations manager, right? Gaining a greater share of the market, obviously, when you are producing more efficiently, you can afford to, I would rather say, you can afford to give a little bit of concessions on the pricing or use the extra money to promotion and marketing and thereby increase the share. Yeah. More cash flows mean more opportunity for the company to expand and grow. One basic thing about anything in business, let's say, business is nothing but cash flow. Cash flow, people from finance basically look at the balance sheet and then look at, but the fact remains that business means cash flow. Things like in automobiles, the cash flow comes only when you sell the product to a distributor. Till then, you're putting your own money, right from your raw materials to the all the processes, manpower, energy, everything, transportation. You are putting cash first, and then only when you sell the product to the distributor, then he pays you, and then he in turn selling to the customer. The cash cycle is very long in that. Whereas, suppose let us say your two of our friends in the hospital are there. What happens when you go to your hospital? The moment you get admitted, they'll say you remit so and so amount. And then they'll give you a progressive bill as you go by. And before you are discharged, you must settle the final bill, right? So it's I would say, but that is a fact in a hospital business. So the cash flow in a hospital business is much better than from, let us say, on in automobiles or shoes for that matter. The same thing. Unless you sell the shoe, you don't get money. Till then, you're putting up all the costs. So, how does cash flow affects in productivity? When you start using less, you keep reducing wastages, then obviously means that much of lesser wastages increases the amount of cash you have in hand, and so the cash flow increases. That is what it happens. Then there is a topic on total quality management. Well, it's a very pet subject to me personally. Total quality management is an approach that seeks to improve quality and performance which will meet or exceed customer expectations. Well, if you see here, the term used is to meet or exceed customer expectations. You are satisfied with the quality of the goods only when it meets your expectations or it exceeds your expectations. There is one more aspect which probably I would say at this stage. It can be stated or implied. There's one more dimension to the quality. Many a times, you want something, but you're not able to precisely say what it is. But you're surprised when you get it. You have been meaning to say that I want this, but you're not able to express it. And when you do that, and when you get it, you are happy about it. It's, to give a very crude example, it's for a baby. Cannot say that I want milk or I want some food or I want to sleep. But the mother knows what the baby needs. In a customer, that it's not everything can be specified. Whether you take an example of an hospital or whether you take an example of an automobile, there are many things you wish it was there. You know, I wish this feature was there. that was only implied, but that was not stated. So the approach to quality is that to meet or exceed customers' stated or implied expectations. If you want, I will probably expand the definition given here. Okay, because even in ISO 9000, I don't know if you have heard of ISO 9000, which is a system standard universally, it talks about stated and implied needs. So TQM looks at the overall quality measures used by the company. Total quality management. The word itself is total. It is not just of the product, mind you. It is all that which goes into producing the product. And it is beyond just the product. It is with respect to the customers, with respect to all the stakeholders which are involved in realizing the product. So that is why it is the word used is total quality. There are various definitions to TQM, but then we'll stick to whatever definition which is given here. There are various principles in quality. We'll take it up as and when it comes. But the fact that you practice total quality management is something very important. That probably if there is a separate session on this, we could do that. But for want of time, we will just stick to what we have to say here. Benefits of TQM is ability to be more competitive, increase market share, cost reduction, increased flexibility and responsiveness, simplified processes, improved communications, less frustration and more satisfaction among the workforce. See, basically, the last, what we talk about the workforce, is one of the most important things in any operations. Who delivers the processes? Ultimately, you can say the machine does it or whatever it is, but ultimately there is a person behind involved in guiding the process to happen. A machine can produce, but if the machine is not set properly, it is not kept clean, it is not attended to periodically to ensure that it doesn't break down, who is responsible? Obviously, the person behind the machine. So it is that unless a workforce is motivated, the processes in relation to this machine, what we just talked about, will not happen. So the motivation of the workforce is very important. And one of the key factors in motivation is not necessarily what salary you pay, not necessarily various other benefits you offer, but how involved the workman or work person is in doing the job. And that comes from proper training and the pride of work, the cleanliness of the place, the way he is able to relate his work to the end use of the product. That's extremely important. If he feels that he is himself doing an important, he's an important part in the realization of the entire product, which again helps the final outcome. This is like the story of those three wood stone cutters. I don't know if you have heard of, you are one of the first stone cutter. When he was asked, what do you do? He says, I'm cutting stones, cut down, you see. The second stone cutter says, you see, I'm doing it precisely the way I was told to do. This is a drawing and this is the thing. I'm using these tools. I'm doing very good job of it, etc. The third stone cutter, when he asked him, I am building this temple. Ram Mandir to banta hai na bhi. Yeah, right. It is happening in Ayodhya, very close to you. And recently, you guys from Varanasi, I'm sure you must have seen the progress of what was happening in the this corridor, no? which is inaugurated by the Kashi Vishwanath temple. What extent of pride the workforce must have had. In fact, the day when Modi ji came and sat between those workmen, what pride they must have had. Because they were not just doing the work, they were actually building that temple and corridor. So that is the motivation which they had. And if you are able to bring in that kind of a motivation, then obviously a lot of things will, it will lead to very good high productivity and extremely high quality. So this is one of the things. There are various methods and tools and techniques which are used in quality management. Very many, but a few of them are listed here. Kaizen is one of the tools which are. Kaizen basically actually is continual improvement, rather. We would say it's an improvement of whatever you do in your work, trying to bring in some improvements in the way you work on a regular basis. Let's not say daily basis, it's a regular basis. Basically, Kaizen obviously need not be applied only to the work environment. A person can himself apply Kaizen to it. So if I had to ask Anchal.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to improve your standard of living?
Yes, sir. Anybody would love to improve that.
Correct. Anybody would. Correct. Obviously, you would. You're not satisfied with what you have, and even after you reach that level, are you working now anywhere?
Yes, sir.
Are you working somewhere now?
No, sir. I'm preparing for competitive examinations.
What?
Seed and gate this year.
Okay, you're going technical. Good. So yeah. So see, continuous improvement obviously means that you are all the time figuring out how to do better and better. Do you play any games?
Sir, in college and in school, I used to play football.
Okay.
But later on, I gradually, what you could say, lost touch with it.
Okay. So what is your position in football?
Sir, I was comfortable in playing at any position, but
Okay.
usually I found the center position, center right, the best.
Center right. Okay. What is the job of a center right? What is the primary purpose of your center right?
Sir, it is mainly to assist the forward players to scoring a goal.
To score a goal. Right. Simple. Right. Whether you're a quarterback or a center forward or whatever, your job is to ensure that you're not expected to go score the goal.
Yes,
but
sir.
You have to ensure that you are forward. What do you call it? The forward guy, no? Huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So he scores the goal. So how do you know that you have done your job very well?
Sir, if he receives the pass well and at a proper position, for example, there are opponents or the opposing team members If they are with him, then it is not very good to pass the ball to him. It would be better to pass the ball to a player in the forward position who is not surrounded by other team members.
So
So
every time you play, do you realize that I could have done this better if I had used, used this force, this angle, this position of the foot?
Sir,
This carry forward.
sir,
Do you
not
do-
exactly.
Yeah.
It happens all in a moment. So it would be.
I know. See, good players, when they do that training, especially Olympics and other trainings, they videograph what all they do. They sit with the coach, they look at the whole thing and then analyze and then say what are the things they could have done better. That's what they do always, right? So everybody is looking at continuously improving what they are doing. Simply said. And that is Kaizen. Right? The moment you are satisfied that what you have done is the best, or chalta hai, like we Indians are very good at saying, of course, chalta hai, that as long as you don't have that chalta hai attitude, right? And you want to continuously keep improving, right? So even an Olympics, let us say a runner, he is not satisfied. There are so many ways it is. Like who won the javelin Olympics?
Sir, I remember his name. It was.
Google search karo yaar. What about Meghna? Meghna, are you listening?
Yes, yes.
Olympics medal किसने जीता अभी? नीरज.
Neeraj Chopra. Neeraj Chopra.
What? Anshul, you being a sports person, you should.
Sir,
Correct.
I forgot. I remembered his name, but I forgot.
Correct. See, for Neeraj to have got that perfect throw, right?
Yes, sir.
To be a world champion, imagine, in the Olympics, how much of practice and improvement which happens, correct, should have taken place, correct? Now, has Neeraj attained his best?
Sir, no, sir. The moment
It
you.
may not, because there is always another person probably training equally better from somewhere in the world, because Olympics is world, it's not India. Who probably will be the next champion with a couple of meters more? Even 1 inch is thing. 1 meter is a lot of thing in the javelin. So could have good thing. So Neeraj cannot say that last year I won, so I'll use only the same technique, whatever I have done so far, and continue to do get my Olympics medal next time. No, he'll be continuously training, trying to improve his technique to get that extra 1 inch, half meter, 1 meter, all that, kind of thing. So the process of doing that in anything what you do, job in automobile, let us say, if you take the example of an automobile, or take a simple function of one of the things in an automobile, there can still be a lot of improvements which take place, in the dashboard, in the ergonomics, in this comfort, in the if it is a geared vehicle, in the way the gear is ease of changing the gear. So there can be many things. And in each of the sub-processes which go into that, again, there can be many improvements. So unless the person keeps thinking on a regular basis of such improvements, there can be no improvements, correct? As simple as that. So the Japanese called it as Kaizen. So Kaizen is a Japanese word meaning gradual and orderly continuous improvement. Right. It is not a chaotic improvement. See, generally, whenever you talk about improvement, you should know, you should be able to get back. Okay, let me put it this very simply. You should be able to get back to the previous level if the things don't work out. If you do randomly, you would not know where you started from. So obviously, that is why it is called orderly continuous improvement. The Kaizen business strategy involves everyone in an organization working together and make improvements without large capital investments. The purpose of Kaizen is to do within the resources available in the workplace and not ask for big infuse of resources. This usually is done by a group Kaizen teams in an organization, and the process, as they say, plan. It is basically all these follow what is called as a PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, act cycle. It's called a Deming cycle or a Schwartz cycle. Of course, currently it is not here, but then in the thing which is given here, it says plan and design. That is the first process always. Anything you do in your work or your own personal life, starting from the time you get up from your bed, you plan what to do for the day. Then you do, okay, or implement the plan. Then you check or evaluate how well you have done or what you have done, what is the end result of what you have done, and assess how well it has happened with respect to the plan, or what is the deviation from the plan, and then what do you need to correct to make it to go right. So this plan, do, check, act, or plan, implement, evaluate, assess is a cycle which is used everywhere, including in Kaizen. Kaizen is usually mostly in teams. One of the other techniques, what mentioned, as I told you, there are many tools and techniques in quality management. One of the techniques which shown here is Pokayoke. Pokayoke is again a Japanese word which apparently means foolproofing or mistake proofing. Is a simple method to prevent defects from occurring in your business processes. Can you give me a very simple example of Pokayoke? Every day you use. Either Meghna or Anshul. Can you give me a very simple example, Pokayoke example? Anshul. I don't see Anshul. Meghna.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
this term, Hokayuki.
Hokayuki means foolproofing or mistake proofing. Okay. Any simple day-to-day example for Hokayuki? Okay, with respect to your computer here, because all of us use laptops, computers, chargers.
Sir, electrical appliances, sir. any electrical appliance is designated to work at a particular range of voltage.
Right.
And there are certain parameters, and which is this appliance is first manufactured, then checked for it, then certain allowances are made or left behind to prevent any unforeseen incident. So these allowances that can be termed as foolproofing. So another example is that while pressing the clutch of a car, there is some allowance that has been purposely left behind, because if you always keep your left leg on the clutch, mostly on the clutch, and you press it by certain amount at all times. So
okay. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, since you talked about an automobile, again, you see when an engine is running, like the car engine is running, and you crank again, what happens? Use the key or the push button to start. What happens? Come on, I'm giving you your own example. You're an automobile engineer. Earlier, what used to happen was the engines used to jam, because they had not given a pocket thing whereby, you can't do double cranking. See, like in case of an inverter, what happens when you let us say, invert the positive and negative terminal in of the battery? Earlier, they never had, protection, but reverse voltage protection is given now in all UPS now. Even by chance you put. Of course, another way of okay is also there is that the terminal sizes are different, the positive and negative terminals. You just can't put. Very simple example, USB, put your USB cable you are putting, right? Into the USB. You can't put it anyway, because you have to put it only one way, otherwise it doesn't go in. I'll tell you, another simple example is the difference between B and C type cable, now, adapter. In Android.
Yes, sir.
Right. So in the B type, you have to put it in only in one direction. Now in C type, you can put in both directions. That is foolproof there itself. Of course, they copied from the Apple Lightning cable. Correct. So your mind has to constantly keep thinking in whatever processes you do. See, this is something that's extremely important. That is why of course, here it was shown as mistake proofing. I call it foolproof. Foolproofing because everybody is a fool. You see, when something can go wrong, it will go wrong. It is a Murphy's law, right? You tell this guy you do this and you'll do exactly the opposite. How do you ensure that it doesn't happen? How do you design the processes? How do you ensure that it doesn't happen? In the USB, of course, they are given, one side is blocked, so you can't put. You have to put it the one way only. Like in a lightning cable, both the sides have the same, mirror terminal. So whether you put it this way or that way, it is the same. Just like now the C-type cable which is there. So you need to constantly look at why this C-type didn't come now. It has come only 3 years back. Mobiles have been there from 95. Correct? For 20 plus years. Nobody, you mean to say people couldn't think of such a simple thing? Millions of engineers working on mobile phones all over the world. Correct? Somebody has thought of it. So it must be you. I'm saying that not only in the place of work, but even in your own personal life. How do you foolproof? Mistakes will happen. People will, do the things the way it is not supposed to, use the wrong tools to do the thing for the wrong purpose. You need to ensure that it is foolproof. And that is exactly what is Pokayoke. This is one of the, as I said, tools and techniques in quality. So Pokayoke, also called mistake proofing, is a simple method to prevent defects from occurring in your business processes. Pokayoke translates into English as to avoid yokeru in Japanese. Errors, this is poka. So Pokayoke is errors avoiding. The result is a business that wastes less energy, time, and resources doing things wrong in the future. As I said earlier, this used to be a problem in all the UPS manufacturers. When a worker connects negative, positive terminal ulta, the power devices blow up. So then they found that you have to do a full proofing. So you add a circuit to ensure that it doesn't work. So that is safer than trying to blow up your power device, which is expensive. Okay, so checklist for important work or important documents. That's why you create, do's and don'ts, instructions, etc. One of the most important things, especially what the Japanese say whenever in operations, is housekeeping. I personally also am a person who is very passionate, or rather I would say insistent, on to the point of annoyance, on housekeeping. Things must be all in its place, right? You designate a place for where everything should be, and then ensure that it is kept there all the time. Yeah, that's what we call as a place for everything, and everything in its place. It is a systematic approach for a better workplace. See, if you've seen some of the good factory layouts, all that, or even a simple garage. You see, we all go to a garage, workshop and all that. See, nowadays, of course, they are very well kept, and there is no spill anywhere. There's no grease lying around. The tools are all in its place. So it makes things very easy. Usually what happens is suddenly, one person says, oh, this number 5 screwdriver is missing, and he goes hunting around. So obviously it is, it's wasting time. Because why? Because somebody has taken it from the place from where it is supposed to be and not kept it back in that place. So keeping house in order, or housekeeping, is extremely important in whatever processes or operations which we do. Okay. It assigns a place for everything and ensures everything in its place. It follows certain principles of cleanliness, organization, discipline, orderliness, etc. The Japanese calls it as 5S. We'll see it somewhere a little later. There. Okay, here there is one SMED, single minute exchange of dice. Actually, it is single minute exchange, but I don't think that's quite relevant to what we are doing right now. Although, of course, it's there in the notes given to you. Basically, it is needed in the design of the processes, whereby if there is a variation needed for the process to take place, you should be able to do it at the least possible time. This was actually done by Sony Corporation, and they called it, because when you have a large variety of production which is happening, in the processes, the jigs and fixtures and tools need to be changed frequently, and that used to take a lot of time. So they devised methodology by which you could do it in the shortest possible time, which say a minute. And it used to be, so then it used to be, that process itself was called as single minute exchange of dice. Of course, it doesn't mean exactly a minute, but then that's a terminology used. Is an approach to reduce the output and quality losses due to changeovers. Okay, that is only when you say have a large variety of offerings what you have. You see, I would say, where is Anshaj? Right, okay. Anshaj.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You are in Manipal, right? Have you been to a Udupi restaurant?
Yes, sir. There was a Udupi restaurant just outside a campus gate.
Correct, no? You go and order that guy. You know how many varieties of food he offers? Right?
Yes,
How
sir.
many offers? He offers everything. Dosa, idli, chow chow bath, whatever. I'm sure you know all those names now, having been in Manipal, right? Huge variety, They include rotis, they give you, all kinds of things. In such a small place with limited facilities. And he doesn't take time. If you see, you order, within 5 minutes it's ready. How does he do that? That is single minute exchange of dice, as simple as that. The way he organizes his processes in such a way that, ye tawa nikal ke dusra tawa dalo, then you take that material from here, this, does that, everything is within his reach. He is able to do that because he has done that, by experience he has done that. Same thing in other processes, also in a production line or a line. When you have to do it, you have to get yourself organized in such a way that when somebody says, "Arey, ye order cancel karo," meaning I want another, this happens all the time. You're running certain line and says, no, there is less demand for this. We want the planning manager comes and says, no, we want, you stop this and you run these processes. So if you're going to take, sometimes some of these things takes one full shift to even change over. So you're lost that much of time. Your productivity comes down. Correct? Whereas if you're able to organize yourself like the Udupi kitchen, now think of that, most efficient. Even I'm amazed, when you come. You go to a 5-star hotel, you may not be able to get that much service. What you get in a Udupi restaurant. Because of this, the concept of SMET. Okay. So that's a concept which when you are able to change over very fast with least waste of time and other resources, obviously your productivity increases, output increases, your profit increases. The methods strength is the systems approach to analyze what is actually done and how time is spent on. There's a methodology of doing the SMET. Yeah, we talked about 5S. Yes, that is this slide probably should have been earlier than this. So the 5S process, or simply 5S, is this is nothing but the housekeeping, what we talked earlier, is a structured program to systematically achieve total organization, cleanliness, and standardization in the workplace. Okay, there are 5 words which start from S. You need not worry about that. Of course, there are parallel words in English also, and these are Japanese words. Siri is the S. It means tidiness, throw away all rubbish and unrelated material in the workplace. Seton is orderliness, set everything in place for quick retrieval and process. Siso is cleanliness, clean the workplace, everyone should be a janitor. Siketsu is standardization, standardize the way of maintaining cleanliness. And Shitseku is discipline, practice 5S daily, etc. So these are basically 5 methods to ensure that you keep the house in order. In short, a place for everything and everything in its place, and visually and otherwise neat and clean. That is what the thing is. Japanese give a very high order of importance to this, which is the in 5S. In fact, they first see whenever they come to visit some of their vendor plants and things like that, how good it is. In fact, I used to say, if you want to see how good a person's house is, okay, what I do, very simple. This is what I do even when I go and visit something. I go and say, I want to use your toilet facility. Sometimes especially more so in our Indian thing, we pay least attention to that. Correct? A person who pays attention to the least, what they call as the least important, is a person who will pay attention to all that, other things. Correct? So that is what is very important, Otherwise, what will happen? They'll keep the drawing room very neat and clean. But everything else, go to, it's like a bachelor's hostel room. Do you have any picture of your hostel room?
Yes, sir.
I have myself stayed in 2 hostels, IIT Kharagpur hostel and IIM Bangalore hostel. I can very proudly say that I've always kept my room very neat and clean, orderly, neat and clean. I'm a Virgo one, By birth sign also, I'm one of those guys who like to be tidy and clean. Okay, makes a lot of difference. Okay, so even if you don't have, and if you are heading operations, you must ensure that you practice this, irrespective of that, whether it is production or whether it is a bank or a hospital or a hotel or whatever. Orderliness and cleanliness is extremely important before you start doing anything. Okay, right, good. Which hostel were you in?
Sir, our hostels were numbers. I was in
I know.
block 5.
My son is from my so 2002 passed out. Okay, so I know Manipal. Which
Sir,
number?
I was in block 5 in the first year. Then
And then
block,
9.
yeah, sir.
9.
No, sir. 15th.
Okay, right, good.
And after the 3rd and 4th year, I shifted out.
Yeah, that's what most people do. My son was in that place, Avalur Road.
Yes, sir.
Good. So cleanliness, orderliness is extremely important in operations, especially. Okay, and that can come only when you practice it yourself in your house, right? Okay. Then where are we? How are we doing on time? Because I'm supposed to complete this, I think, today. Oh, we are just about finishing our time. Maybe another 5 minutes. 8:05. I'm supposed to close. Okay, another technique is called Six Sigma. You see, Six Sigma is actually was come into by Motorola. Motorola was a company which first brought in this concept of Six Sigma. See, basically, I would say if you, while the Japanese are very high, Japanese and we Asians are very high on philosophy, the Americans are, I would say they want everything in black and white and then measurable. That is their problem. So they could not understand actually to TQM philosophies, and especially the Deming 14 principles. They could not. Some of them, although Deming was an American, some of them they don't understand and they don't subscribe. In fact, the fact that you must have a single vendor, which is one of the points of Deming, they don't understand. Okay, it doesn't fit into their system. So Motorola came up with their own concept of quality, which they called it as Six Sigma. And of course, whatever given here, they have some champions and sponsors, black belt, master black belt, green belt, and all that, because they copied what happens in karate, the martial arts thing. Okay, but basically a Six Sigma is the concept of having very accurate output of the product, which of course you understand. Six Sigma means 99.999 whatever, kind of thing. So to that level of accuracy. Okay. So if all your processes, the variation is very, very less and conforms to Six Sigma, then you are supposed to be following the Six Sigma. Okay. So I'll not get into these change agents and all that, because that's only thing. Business process re-engineering was a tool which may not be all that relevant today, but then when there was a fast change of technologies in the 90s, the concept of this business process re-engineering happened, because the existing units had to drastically change their workflows in the organization to suit the modern thinking and the way the modern operations were done. And so I forget the name of the guy who was the author of this business process re-engineering. Not very relevant today, because we design it with the current methods of accepted practices nowadays. Constraints in production in increasing productivity. Well, I think you can read up government regulations, registrations and approvals, union rules. Yeah, out of this, I would say union rules play a very important role. But then once you are able to convince by team meetings, meeting them in a group, and you're able to, I wouldn't say negotiate, but convince them that this is all for their own good. And then there will be no loss of pay or reduction in the numbers. They will always be, or they will be redeployed in other roles or upgraded. I don't think any union will object. That's one of the important things, especially when it comes to increasing productivity. I won't say management limitations. There shouldn't be. Employee-related issues, skilling, of course, that is where all the training comes in. Any organization must conduct continuously training for all its staff. There is a case study given here of Gujarat Alkalis and Chemicals and Walmart. I think there is a case study of Google in improving productivity. So in conclusion, I would only say that there are various ways of improving productivity. For a firm to survive and prosper, improving productivity is a must. Exactly where we started, it says productivity is not a fad or something you can do when you have nothing else to do. In fact, it is the first thing which you have to do, because that is the only way you reduce all types of wastages in which goes into realizing the product. And that is the only way, as we initially said, where your profit comes from. The profit comes from operations, and improving productivity in operations by reducing wastages is the only way to ensure that you have a surplus or a profit in an organization. Thank you very much. Now you can ask any questions if you have before we sign off. Since only the two of you are there, if the other person is joining, it's fine. But
So can you please share the PPTs or the slides?
ask Rekha ma'am. Rekha ma'am is author of the PPT.
Okay. I asked her actually, but she did not mail that yet.
No, maybe sometime later. I do not know what kind of resource material you have. But if you have any specific doubts, I think WhatsApp group has been created. You can always check and we can get in. Okay, that's not a problem. Okay. Okay. It's see, we are here to clear your doubts. Okay, and understand the subject. and put it into practice at any time when you need to use it. See, these kind of any subject or any tools and techniques which you learn, it is not necessary that you practice it immediately, but then there will always come a time, maybe may not be today, tomorrow, may not be next year, maybe somewhere else, but then you may need to use it. It is like in our Hindu mythology, we say, the various type of astras are there, the kings keep practicing, the soldier and the various people, they're practicing the skills. It is not that it is needed every day, but when it is needed, you should be able to use it without having to rehearse or practice. So your learning happens now. The usage may happen much later. But unless you have learned now properly, when you want to use it, you won't be able to use it. It's not only this subject, anything but what you do in your life, right? So with that, I will call it a day. But as I said, you can always come back to me on WhatsApp. We'll see how we can clear your doubts. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Right. So I'm going to end the program now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Great. What is a quick feedback from you? How was because 2 hours was a very long session, but how did it go? I'm used to talking, so I have no problem. It is you guys who are listening.
Sir, it was very interesting, sir. Compared to the theory, it was more focused on practical aspects. You gave out various examples, so it was easy to correlate what we learned in theory to the actual practical.
The problem is most of the cases is because when you take theory as theory, it's like I will go to sleep also in 10 minutes. Okay, so we need to interact. But interaction also depends. That is why it's called interaction. You should also keep asking. So don't think of this as a regular any session in Manipal, where you ask a question that will tell you to shut up, right? Your prof. It's not like that. You ask a question, we'll deliberate on it. Understand? Before you move forward. Okay. So do that. Have the habit of questioning. Okay? Right. Okay.
Sir, will you be in the next session next Saturday?
No, I don't take Saturday sessions because I have usually other engagements on Saturdays. So I have opted for Sundays.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So anyway, we'll see how it goes, because this is the first program what I started today, having volunteered, because Rekha and me, we are batchmates from IIT Kharagpur, and she had put it up in our group. I said, okay, I'm taking here. Come on, it doesn't matter where you do it from. So we'll do it. I'm willing to do it. Correct. And these are subjects for me, it doesn't need preparation. It just is there. Not only I've been practicing it, I've been teaching also operations in many institutes earlier. Okay, good. So let's have interactive sessions. That's what keeps us good. Okay, Rekha, madam has joined just now. Hello, Rekha. Rekha, we just finished. Rekha? Rekha, can you unmute, please? I can see. Yeah, Rekha, please unmute.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah. Hi. We have just finished session
Thank
for
you
today.
very much. You joined and you have conducted a very interesting session.
Yeah, that's what I was telling these people, that you should be interactive. Because I'm also,
I was lacking. I could not give them the practical approach to operations research. Mine
Yeah,
is
yeah.
theoretical.
yeah. No, also, one should always have a combination of theory and practice, Right.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, I think we'll call it a day. I think I just finished that productivity session slide, what you said. Next
Okay.
week, to tell me what subject I have to take,
Okay, I'll make
do that.
to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Right. Good night.
Good night.
Anyway, next session probably will be better because I'll have all my resources. Today I'm just doing make do with my iPad. And so there was a lot of plus bandwidth was for the weekend. Next week I'll be on my desktop and all. So
Okay.
right. See you. Good night.
Good night.